Hey everybody, this is JB with Jibtown Gaming. Just wanted to give you a quick spoiler check that I'm going to discuss almost everything in this game. And there's going to be a lot of spoilers, but if you're cool with that, then keep watching. I got a lot of thoughts when it comes to The Last of Us Part 2. And I don't really know where to start. And what I found myself constantly doing is comparing it to the first game, which is a masterpiece in itself. I feel like it's widely known to be one of the best written stories for any video game ever, and is probably the game of the decade. And I don't think that's fair to compare this game to that one, because it holds it in such high regard, and that's where I feel like I'm at a loss, and why I shouldn't compare the two, because they're ultimately two completely separate things. And I also think that I appreciate the second one more when I stop doing that. I think the first one is primarily seen as a journey between two people, the interactions that they have with people, and how that ultimately shapes them and leads them to this final morally questioned decision that they have to make, or that Joel has to make. And the second one is more of a revenge tale, I guess, where protagonists can be seen as antagonists, and the world is brutal, and how it just continues to keep on shitting on these people. So the game starts in a way that I was hoping that it would. Honestly, it starts with Joel speaking to Tommy specifically about what he did and how he saved her. You see Tommy's reaction, and all of it's great stuff. You move forward, and you have a scene where Ellie and Joel have this kind of awkward conversation, but it ends with Joel kind of breaking through to Ellie. And it's all the stuff that we really want to see. We're excited about it. This is what we've been waiting 7 years for. We want to see where these people have gone. We want to see what's happened. And then we move into the part of the game where nothing really happens again, and it's just talking about teen drama, and like Jesse's upset that Ellie kissed his girl that they broke up with a week ago, and it's fine, because in a way I kind of felt the game was saying things have normalized for these people. That the world, while it is chaotic, they have kind of struck a balance and know how to have problems that don't really mean anything. And that's great, and I'm all about it. But it's about where you go from there. And I felt like the game consistently brought up those themes over and over again that were pointless and didn't really affect these characters that much altogether. Anyway, I'm going to just jump ahead because nothing really happens until the scene with Joel. And a lot of people are upset because they feel like him rushing into that group was out of character, that he was one of the most cautious people. He was able to spot an ambush from like a mile away in a car, and he wouldn't have just waltzed in there. I'm playing devil's advocate here. What if over the years he's become a lot softer? He hasn't really had to deal with humans all that much, pretty much just zombies, and therefore he saves this girl. She seems like she's nice, and she has this like area where they can take rest through the storm. And maybe him and Tommy are just, not worried because they haven't really been in these tough situations that much anymore, since Jackson has really been secure and easy to live in. So they let their guard down for one moment. People do that. It is human to do that and to make a mistake, which he does. And it costs him his life. But that's what happens, right? And so we have Abby takes a shotgun to his knee, starts beating him over the face with the golf club. And the problem with this scene is that they make Abby so vicious. And that's not normally a problem, but when you try to accomplish that she's a really good person later, you just don't feel it. You don't see it. It's hard to watch someone torture somebody else first and then go, oh wait, but they're really a good person. What they were doing was deserved. Because it wasn't. Torture's never really deserved. So inherently, there are a ton of bad qualities in this person. And that's okay. They don't need to be a completely perfect person, but what you show it in that order, and you do it to one of our favorite characters, it's so hard now to connect with her. Ever. because you just are, honestly, it like hurts you inside. Because these characters from the first game, they're so amazing and the story is so amazing that it becomes more than the story itself. When people look at Luke Skywalker, it's not just that he's part of Star Wars, but they love that character more than anything. And then you ruin him in The Last Jedi and you make him die, and it takes a little bit of your soul with you. And that's what happens here. It takes a little bit of your soul with you when you see her kill Joel. And it removes you from the game a little bit. You're just upset. You're mad. And you want to know why they had to make your character go out like that. Now, the truth is they keep trying to push this realism idea that, like, you know, shitty things happen to people, and, you know, this is what was coming for this person. But anyway, they even go so far as to where Owen says, just finish it, and she's like, you want what I want, right? And what do you want? You just want to torture somebody? And as an audience, we're like, he's actually not a bad guy. He's a really good person. He may have made a mistake that cost humanity, and yes, I could understand why people would want to kill him, but ultimately, he did it for love, because he loved this little girl and couldn't fathom the idea that people were going to kill her in order to save the world. He already lost his daughter. So for us, as the audience watching this happen, we're like, fuck Abby. She's the worst. So anyway, the game sets her as a very vile and vicious person from the start. And maybe they want to show that to you so that they can say, hey, listen, this was just one perspective, but you need to look at it from her perspective. But again, I just think it was too much. So then we get to Seattle. And honestly, the next 10 hours of the game, they don't really matter at all. There are little things that happen, but ultimately the only thing that you really care about through those 10 hours are the 3 flashback sequences. You've got the one in the museum, where Joel takes Ellie on her birthday, and honestly, it's amazing. Everything that happens in that sequence is awesome. I love the dialogue. I love the interactions between the two. It feels so real and emotional. You get to the second flashback scene with Ellie sniping with Tommy, and then you ultimately leads to the scene where Ellie's asking Joel what happened. Why couldn't I speak to any of the other immune people? How come I couldn't speak to the doctors or the Fireflies? Why did we just leave? Joel fumbles around, he gets through it, but you could see that Ellie knows something's up. And then you have the last one where Ellie actually finds out the truth and the brutality of it, and just like how much it breaks Joel to tell her, and how she loves him but is so angry at him and pushes him away, and he realizes in that moment that like he really only has Tommy left. And like the one thing he like really, really loved is gone. And it's so good. I love those sequences so much. And it makes me so frustrated because I realize what this game could have been. Because those scenes were perfect. But anyway, you get back. Again, you kill some people from the group. But ultimately, you find your way to the aquarium where you think Abby is. You roll up in on Mel and Owen. There's a scene where Owen lunges for the gun. Ellie shoots Owen. Mel tries to stab Ellie. And then Ellie kills her, realizes that she's pregnant, sees Dina in there, freaks out, loses her shit. Tommy shows up, takes her out. It's like a brutal scene. It's okay, I guess. I guess Ellie is starting to learn that revenge isn't as sweet as she thinks it's going to be. But you get back to the movie theater. Everything seems fine. Abby shows up, beats the shit out of Tommy, shoots Jesse in the face, and has you at gunpoint. And you're like, oh, fuck, here we go. Where's this game about to go? And the game's like, oh, no, we're going to stay right here, but I'm going to throw you back 12 hours because fuck you. So you're now having to not only wait 12 hours to get back to the same spot, but you have to play as Abby during this time. It might have almost even been better if you had to play as Abby first, and then you had to play as Ellie, because you'd be more excited halfway through that you get to play as Ellie again versus being so annoyed that you have to play as Abby now. And honestly, it's so fucking funny because the next part of the game, just stupid thing happens after stupid thing. And I cannot believe it went this bad. So they start with Abby. They show you that her dad is the doctor who was killed by Joel, who was going to save humanity. And they bring you into the stadium, and you find out you're going on patrol. And you find out that Mel is coming with you, who's fucking pregnant. And she's taking a patrol with you. There are like hundreds of soldiers, but they have to develop Mel's character somehow. So they just decide to say, "Are you sure you're cleared?" And Mel's like, "Barely." And that's it. That's the only thing they address it on as to why a pregnant lady would go out. And then like 3 minutes after you're in the car, you get attacked by scars. So anyway, you get out of it and you crash your car and you're like, oh shit, the scars are about to be on them. And then the scars they just stop fighting you. They're like, fuck it. Whatever. They're probably dead anyway, I guess. We don't care about hanging them up and slitting their bellies open, because that's not our thing. So they let you go. And it's amazing because it leads to the most ridiculous fucking part. One of the most ridiculous fucking parts in this game. Watching Mel climb up and scrape her belly and then like high jump onto the rafters and run across them and then jump down and let Abby up. Why not make it so fucking stupid? How about you get a ladder? You just put a ladder in the level and she puts the ladder up and you do it. That would be so much better than watching this dumbass shit happen. But the writers were like, fuck it, they probably won't notice. Fuck it. So you get through that part, I guess, and you get to the next part where you're at the wolf checkpoint, the next wolf checkpoint. And it is what it is. You find out a couple of your friends are dead, and then you meet Isaac. And Isaac is the bad leader, the crazy, scary leader. And he's got a dude tied up naked to a chair, and you see a little dick, I think. And it's just, they're just trying to establish the fact that he's a crazy fucking dude. And you learn more about the plan, and the plan is to go invade this island, and they need Abby here, but she's like, but what about Owen? And apparently Owen killed one of the wolf people, so Isaac's really pissed off, but Abby knows she has to go find him because he wouldn't have done something like that, so she starts her journey to go get Owen from the aquarium. She runs into some Scar folks who then end up hanging her and are about to cut her open, and that's when the two little rebellious Scar kids show up, and they're about to let Abby hang, and then the girl's like, no, she's a good one, so they cut her down. You all establish that you like each other, and you keep saving each other, and then Abby's like, you know what? Because I don't trust you now, you can stay in this little building. Meanwhile, I'm going to go all the way back to where it's safe in the aquarium. But fuck you, I don't really care about you at all. Then she gets to the aquarium, and after that bad decision, she's like, you know what? I'm going to have sex with the dude who has a baby with somebody else and is in a relationship. Because I want to show how shitty my character is. Because I'm a conflicted human person. And so then she fucks Owen, and then the next morning she wakes up and she's like, oh man, now that I've had my sexual fulfillment, I might as well go save those kids who are probably covered in scars by now, but they're probably fine. And they happen to be fine. They just like kill one dude in front of the door, even though there were like 100 scars all around that area. And you save them, and the girl's about to die because her arm is broken. So you take her back to the aquarium. And you can't get back to the hospital that's close by because the route that you would take you too long. And Lev is like, I know where we can go. We can go up in the buildings because we have paths up there. And Abby is like, what are you talking about? Wolves never look up. Oh man, what a great way to explain that they would never check those buildings up there. They would never look up there at all to scavenge or do anything up there. Just no person in the wolf army would have seen that at all. Even though it's right next to the hospital. Sure, let's forgive it. Fuck it. I wouldn't want to go up in those buildings that high because they could look like they could collapse at any moment. So, sure, I'll even give it that benefit of the doubt. But you get to the hospital. And the guards call Isaac. They find out you ran away, and so they chain you up. Nora lets you out, and she's like, the bottom floors of the hospital have never been looked at. And you're like, why? You set up base camp in this hospital. Why would you guys never look at what's below you? It's also a hospital where there's probably a lot of goods that you could use. But, fuck it. Because, fuck it. We need to push the story somehow. So no one ever went down there, even though there's hundreds of soldiers that could have done it. And so Abby goes down there by herself. And you find a new zomboy, and you kill it. And you find the goods to save it. And then you walk out of the parking garage, and Lev just miraculously happens to be there. Because, again, we have to push the story somehow. So Lev just happens to show up at the one spot where Abby is, did not know where she went at all, aside from that way. And then miraculously next to him happens to be a little speedboat. This game is amazing. Oh my god, things just happen to work out for these people. So then they take the speedboat back and they save Yara. Mind you, she had a broken arm and was about to die 3 days later. And Tommy gets shot in the head and lives. So, we'll talk about that later. But they save Yara, and then the boy's like, we need to all go to Santa Barbara and save ourselves and leave together. And everything will be happy. But we need my mom, who hates me and, never understood me and is like a devout religious person and will never understand, but she's my mommy and I want to save her. So I'm going to go back and try and get her and leave everybody and go into Scar-infected territory because I'm a brash little boy, so fuck it. And then you go and you're going to go chase him. And then Tommy shows up and is sniping all the people, shoots Manny in the face, and then you get into a little fight with Tommy. And then out of fucking nowhere again, miraculously, Yara just ends up there. You had told Yara to stay by the docks while you took care of this sniper. And then you run across a highway, up a parking garage, into a building, and somehow Yara teleports to that exact area to stab Tommy right as he's about to kill Abby. Because again, we have to push the story somehow. So you then get to the next part, which is the island. And you sneak around the island, this only back way into the island that nobody would see coming. And you find the Lev, and he killed his mom, of course, because, yeah. And then you're like, we all need to go. We all need to get off this stupid island because the wolves are attacking now, and there's a war that's breaking out. And so you finally start to get on, to run away. Yara gets into kerfuffle and gets shot. Isaac miraculously shows up in the exact spot where Abby is. And Abby won't let him kill Lev, so Yara picks up a gun and shoots him. And then Abby is completely cool with murdering all of her friends on this island now. And they all know her because every time you run into a new scene, they're like, Abby's here! And then you get through the island, and you realize that the only point for coming to this island was to give it a real cinematic feel, to have these scenes where you're on a horse riding through a burning village, and you fight this dude who's gigantic, and you rip his mouth out, and then you stab him in the throat with a broken arrow, and there's all these epic things that are happening, and you realize that this doesn't help the story at all. It's just to be epic. It's just to look really cool. And it does that. It is really cool. It's fun to run through the village and you're just shooting everybody on horseback. And I still don't understand why we didn't learn more about the Scar leader. She actually sounded like maybe the most interesting person in the entire game, and everyone forgets about her. Maybe they mentioned she was dead earlier in the game or something. I don't know. I thought she was still alive. But she seemed really, really interesting. Why didn't we learn more about her? So we get back to the aquarium and everything's good. Nope, because Owen and Mel are dead. And Abby is infuriated with rage now. And you take her back to the scene that you've been waiting for. The scene where 12 hours ago you were like, I just want to know what happens, and the game's like, fuck you, right? You're back at this scene in the movie theater. So Tommy lunges at the gun, he gets shot in the leg by Lev, and then Abby shoots him in the head, and then you fight Ellie. And the next part of the game is the most infuriating part to me. It's where you play as Abby and you have to sneak around the movie theater and like attack Ellie when she's not looking. It's an exact replica of when you're playing as Ellie in the first game and David is walking around the restaurant and you have to sneak attack him. I don't know if they were trying to compare these two scenes to each other or if they even tried to make it have any sort of connection, but regardless, I did in my brain, and it made me think that they're trying to make Abby this sweet, innocent person and Ellie this crazy villain. And it just did not click with me and pissed me off more than fucking anything in the game. Again, I totally get that I could be reading into it, or it could be what they were trying to accomplish. And I don't think it worked. And I hated it. I think I did it multiple times where I just literally sat there and let Ellie kill me. Like shoot Abby with the shotgun just because I wanted the game to end there. Because I was just so done by then. But anyway, Abby then beats the shit out of Ellie and breaks her arm, slams Dina's fucking head into the ground, and is about to slit her throat. And Ellie goes, but she's pregnant. And Abby responds, good. To then showcase another time that she is an evil, vile character. And it takes Lev to be like, Abby, you're a good person. And Abby's like, you know what? I am a good person. I will rise above this situation. And then they just let Abby go, or Dina go. And they let Ellie go. And they leave. And then you move to the farm. And you see some good scenes. You see Ellie have a PTSD. And then Tommy shows up. Tommy. You did hear me right earlier when I said that he got shot in the head. And you did hear me right earlier when they said a little girl was going to die 3 days later from a broken arm. So how in the fuck does Tommy, who gets shot through the head, travel 1,000 miles back to Jackson, Wyoming with an arrow through his leg and a shot through his head, and there are no allies around anywhere? They don't have means of transportation. They don't have a horse. They don't have anything. And also, Ellie's arm is broken, beat to shit, and Dina got beat to shit to where she got knocked out. So everybody's in bad shape and they have nothing and no supplies. So how do they get back? But they have to push the story somehow. And so Tommy, so not only do they make Tommy live, but they bring him back just to make him a revengeful fucking dickhead, to push Ellie to still go find Abby. They bring him back to then ruin his character all over again. So then Ellie can't let it go. She has to go find Abby. She finds that she's taken by the Rattlers. She kills all the Rattlers. She finds Abby, who's hung up on a post with Lev. She cuts them down. She lets them get to the boat. And then she's like, I'm going to kill your friend unless you fight me. And Abby's like, fine, let's fight. And then with like no energy and no strength left in the world in Abby, and like a little bit left in Ellie, they have the most intense fight scene of all time, to which Ellie wins and is like drowning her in the water, and then realizes after she gets her fingers bit off, I shouldn't probably do this because I guess I see Joel somewhere here, and I don't think that killing her will bring back Joel's death. So I'm sad, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to let them go because now I'm a better person, you know? I just had to reciprocate what Abby did. I just needed to pretty much almost kill her to then say, I'm going to let you go because I'm the bigger person, and I didn't need Lev there with me. Nobody really learns anything in this game. They might learn that revenge sucks, and that like you don't really get anything from it. But they don't really grow as characters at all. They just try and establish that they're good people from the start, and then that's it. And that protagonists are antagonists also in this story. And that's it. It's like watching a movie like Hostel. There are good people and there are bad people, and the bad people torture the good people, and then the good people get revenge. And that's it. You don't come out of that movie going, damn, that movie made me think, or damn, that movie was like awesome. You're like, damn, that was a really fucking hard movie to watch, and I'm not even really sure why I watched it. Unless you like torture, and then, you know what? Maybe you like this game. Maybe you'll like the story. Because there's nothing, it doesn't make you think. It doesn't make you feel good. It's just a depressing tale of nothing. So I feel like I have to give it a rating. I guess the best way to do that is out of 10. And I'd probably give it a 5. And the reason I'd give it a 5 is for a lot of the things that it actually did right. So it had accessibility settings for partially blind and blind folks, which is amazing. It had, you could customize the game to how you want to play it with the meters. If you want more resources, or if you want the enemies to be more aggressive, or if you want your partners to be more passive. I mean, you can really tailor it to how you want, which is awesome. The graphics were outstanding, the voice acting was outstanding, and there were some scenes that were good. But this is a game that's built around the story, it's built around the narrative, and they just came up short. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10. But thank you again so much for watching this. I hope I connected with some of you, and love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So please definitely feel free to drop some comments, and please subscribe to the channel, as I'm going to be posting a lot more videos as we're just getting started.